Greetings, good man. Might I trouble you for a drink?
Oh, get out of here, Homer.
Homer? Who is Homer? My name is Guy Incognito. Oh my god, this man is my exact double. That dog has a puffy tail. Here, Puff! Here, Puff!
Who disrupts my coronation?
Everyone has been destroyed because of this freak! I won't allow it! These babies just saved this lame fest party!
What's going on? You are listening to ThisWeekInGeek.net. I'm your host, Mike the Birdman, but I'm not alone on this very early Monday morning. I'm joined by my co-host from the wonderful land of Kitchener, Ontario, Canada.
Alex, the producer.
That's right. Me and Alex are both sleep deprived on this morning's podcast because, well, I was up playing a game from 2004, and you were up playing a game from about a week ago?
From Friday.
So, yeah, we have both been up playing video games, and it has been just one of those weeks where it's been busy, to say the very least, as we most often like to do here off the top of the podcast, kind of give you a insight into the week that has been for us as your co-host here on TWIG that has been running since 2007. So that's like 16 years. It's a long ass time. So for myself this week, tremendously busy. I have been doing a lot of things for the newspaper that I work for here in town, and I'm actually out of stories now, so I actually have to start writing again. But this week was actually really kind of a challenge because I was trying to wrangle interviews for a local piece involving the Guelph Storm, but the piece turned out beautifully. So this week was the Anishinaabe outreach game called Hand Up for Healing with the Guelph Storm. And what made that game particularly special is they had Indigenous themed jerseys, and they looked phenomenal on the ice.
Yeah, I saw those pictures that you were sharing on social media.
Yeah, and the really cool thing is, and this was so unexpected, that during the graphics package that appears up on the big video screen between kind of periods, it showed the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds logo, which is, you know, it is what it is. And then they showed the new Indigenous themed logo beside it instead of the Guelph Storm logo. Everything was changed that night, every video package. And I was like, you didn't have to do that, and you did. So right now they're currently auctioning off most of the jerseys, if not all of them right now. There's a couple of them that are up over $600 right now, which is incredible. We beat the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds 7-3. One kid got 4 goals, which is really, really, really awesome. And I think his jersey's up over $500 right now.
Speaking of kids, think about this. How weird is it? How old does it make you feel when you realize that all of the people playing in the OHL are young enough to be your kids?
Okay, I actually had dinner with these kids on Tuesday night, actually. And it was amazing how small they were because I was at dinner and I ordered a drink. And like one kid's like, I'm not old enough to have alcohol, so I have to go get a waiter or somebody older. And so he brought me over.
Oh, he wasn't even allowed to serve.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I was like, oh my god.
Cool. Oh, isn't OHL mostly like?
Yeah,
like
16 to 19.
I was going to say, I was going to say 16 and 19. You might have a straggler in there that just is turning 20 in the year.
Yeah, and then they would be like the team's overager. But yeah, like that was really, really, really cool too, just to have dinner by the Storm. So my friend Jordan from the Storm Trackers fan club took me out to dinner because Blair had to stay be home because Dutch got neutered last week and he wasn't feeling so good. So we had to kind of keep an eye on him. One emergency trip to the vet later.
Did you find out, was it an allergy to the meds or to the anesthesia?
Yeah.
Or he just sensitive to it?
He was probably sensitive to it because so what my wife had to do, she had to hand feed him and she had to put water down his gullet via syringe. But after like 3 days of that and one round of subcutaneous fluids, he really turned the bend one day. He was like, okay, I'm happy and I like to play now. And he's been fine ever since. So yeah, it's just because he's so small, because he's just over 4 pounds, that it just kind of hit him a little bit harder. Whereas Beaker's I'm a cat and I'm good.
Well, and it's like some people, like when I had my surgery, the weight loss surgery, they said, oh, apparently you wake up within a half an hour or so after the surgery's done, the way they time it with the anesthesia. And it took me like 2.5 hours to wake up apparently. And they didn't tell my family. So my family's like, is he fine? And nobody ever let them know until like 3 hours later. They were all worried, and they're just like, yeah, your son it has like not an allergy to it, but like my body reacts differently than other people, so it takes longer to wake up. And then we find out that that's a family trait on my dad's side.
Oh.
Every person on my dad's side, like on my grandma's side, on his side, everybody on that side of the family that has surgery takes way longer to wake up from anesthesia.
Oh wow.
Doesn't matter the body size. Like grandma had surgery and it was like 4 hours to wake up when it should have been half hour to an hour. And my dad, everybody. And yet the other side of the family, they all wake up like normal. So it's like some people, when I heard, what happened with Dutch, I was like, oh, maybe he's got the same thing I do.
Yeah.
where it takes a longer time for him to shake it off.
Mm-hmm. So, fortunately, like I said, him and Beaker are all kind of good now. They're being happy, lovey-dovey kittens. Trying to think. And then finally this week, I played Pokemon for 8 hours each day this weekend with my friend Jordan. So the three of us were in the car playing Pokemon Go, which was the Hoenn tour this weekend. And my God, were my hips sore, but totally worth it. We did these primal raids. In fact, I think as of today, as we record today's podcast, I think today's Pokemon Day, which I think...
Is it?
I think so. I think I remember reading that. I'll have to look it up on Twitter later. So
I'll look it up right now, because if it's the case, isn't there supposed to be like a direct?
There should be something I think Ken said something in one of our chats.
Apparently, yeah, it's Pokemon Day.
Oh, well, yay. I guess I'll have something to say later.
Yeah, it says there's a Pokemon Presents later on today.
Okay, so yeah, we'll probably talk about that in next week's news.
6 a.m. Pacific, so it'll be happening while we record.
Oh, good times. So anyway, that's pretty much been my week. What about you, Alex?
I played a little bit of games. And by a little bit of games, I mean, well, I've been playing some stuff for review. I did last minute, at the end of the week when it released, get the Kirby, the new Kirby game. So that'll be on probably next week's show. Working a little bit through that, as well as a few other. I have Zen Pinball released a bunch of new tables, as well as like they have their PS5 version of the app out. So I've got that. That'll be actually probably be in this show. As well as a few other things. But then I also decided, hey, I'm going to stream Octopath Traveler 2. And I started, I guess, 2.5 hours before midnight on Friday, because, or Thursday night going into Friday, because at midnight is when it would launch the digital copy of the full game, and the demo, you could carry forward your save. And I've, over the course of the last 3.5-ish days, was it Friday, Saturday, Sunday? I guess 3 days technically. I have streamed 45 hours. So basically a full live playthrough. Or not complete, but that's the idea here. Between 10 and 11 hours each day.
That's insane.
Yeah. So as far as I can tell, I'm probably about 70% done, 60 to 70% done the game. Having a great time with it. But as an experiment, I was just trying to see how long can you stream. I guess on Twitch you can stream forever, technically, right? Let's people do those like charity marathon streams, right? Like for Extra Life. But if you plan on streaming on either live streaming on YouTube, or you want to upload your VODs on like your on-demand videos after the fact to YouTube, there's a 12-hour limit. So, could I have streamed longer? Maybe, but the body is, the mind is willing, but the body will give out eventually. So I try to cut it off at somewhere between 10 and 11 hours or so, because it's interesting because I don't see a lot of people doing that. Or when people do playthroughs, they'll cut them up like crazy or split them into like 50 chapters. It's like, no, I'm literally doing whole 11-hour chapters at a time. And it's been an interesting ride. You're going to get to see into the psyche of how I play JRPGs, and how you've heard on the podcast before when it's like, hey, a big game's coming out like Mass Effect, something. It's like, bye Alex for a week. Well, this is what I do, just this is the first time that you're getting to see that live.
I don't know what game would cause me to say, all right, Alex, don't bother me for a few days.
Mass Effect 4,
maybe a Transformers game.
I guess would it be Mass Effect 5, or do we not count Andromeda?
Andromeda's kind of like a side spin-off, so I guess it'd be Mass Effect 4, maybe Ghostbusters, single player Transformers, Final Fantasy 7 Part 2. That would be both of us, honestly.
I think Mass Effect's probably the bigger one if it looks good.
Maybe Halo for me.
But I don't know if it's that long, right? Halo's not a 40-hour game.
Yeah, no, I think the longest I've played is maybe 10 hours, and that's with...
So it's probably Mass Effect, and then...
Maybe Resident Evil, maybe?
I was going to say, RE... Did you play 8 yet?
On and off, but not so much so that I'm like, okay, here's what happened, plot point for plot point. I'm just like, all right, cool. Whatever.
So probably RE4 then when that comes out, will be a little more.
Yeah, that one I'm gonna ask Capcom for a review copy, so I'll cross my fingers on that one.
And I mean, Street Fighter you're gonna play a ton of, but I don't think it's something where you
would marathon.
Don't come up for air. You're gonna play that probably 3 or 4 hours at a time.
Yeah, and that's the type of game I'm actually gonna save up, because during the PlayStation 4 era, I completely missed playing it on Fight Stick. Now that I actually have a bit of a job, I can actually start setting money aside, and I can get a PlayStation 5 Fight Stick so I can play this thing properly.
Yeah, and those are starting to come out now. There's a few companies that have them, and they're not like cheap.
Yeah, exactly. So that's going to be like saving up for like a paycheck. So
I was thinking, like, if there's another one that you would probably want, to dive into.
Mortal Kombat, maybe?
Yeah, but that's not going to be that many hours.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Fallen Order, the next Jedi game.
That's what I was going to say. That'll be a probably, maybe not 10 hours, 11 hours a day, but could be.
Yeah.
For you.
Yeah, exactly.
Seeing him like that. But yeah, Mass Effect, there's very few titles. Like I wonder, Spider-Man 2, maybe.
Yeah, probably. So Spider-Man, what else?
We haven't seen what it's going to be like, but the Wolverine game, because it's made by the same people, probably.
Persona?
Yeah, okay, that's going to be it. When they announce Persona 6.
Yeah, that'll be both of us.
That's a bye-bye time. Hello, bye-bye. Bye-bye. Don't come up. We're coming up for air eventually. I'm going to be doing that with FF16 as well.
Yeah.
I've already got that pre-ordered, and I'll be doing a marathon stream. We'll see if the audience is built up, and if not, there's very few people, I think, that will be streaming from midnight until noon.
Yeah, pretty much.
Straight. But we'll see. But yeah, that's sort of been my weekend. I'm having a blast with Octopath. Also been experimenting with some of the scenes and how to transition for streaming and getting everything set up that way. So I've been having a pretty good time, because it's been such bad shitty weather, right? Like freezing rain, and then 6 inches of snow, and then blah blah, and apparently we're under a 6-inch snow warning for this afternoon as well.
Yeah, so it's not going to be a fun time. So hopefully you will be joining us for the duration of this podcast, as we most often love to spend it with you. So coming up this week in the show for reviews, we're going to be taking a look at yet another Transformers figure. This is one that you may be familiar with if you watched the 1990s Beast Wars animated series. We're going to be looking at Transformers Legacy Voyager class Predacon Inferno. And coming up from you, Alex, what do we have from you?
Well, we've got I'm deciding which games I can put in because there's some of them have a release embargo, but we'll have a game review for me as well as a review of the new Pinball FX boards that have just been released. I was sent a review code for there's a Marvel Pinball pack, there's a Gearbox table collection, and there's an Indiana Jones one that launched, which you know Pinball FX, it's like where they take real life tables and then make virtual versions of them. And then they also sent me a code that I could enter that would give me a month of access to all their tables.
Oh, so that's awesome.
Yeah, they're basically like, here's a code for X amount of coins, and please use these coins to pay for 1 month subscription of their thing. They have like a yearly one, and they have like a 1 month, and the 1 month will let you try a little bit of everything. And then the other like licensed tables, they sent codes that were permanent codes to check out. So I've been sort of casually going through that. It's going to be a pretty quick review because we've covered Pinball FX on different platforms in the past. It's more like, how are these tables any good? And the answer is usually, for the most part, yeah. I mean, sometimes it's a little off. I would love to. One day I'd love, like, if we had like FU money, I'd like to get not like a full size pinball with like the bumpers and everything, because it's a pain in the butt to maintain those. But you've seen like
those virtual tables.
Yeah, one of these days, if I have the money and have the space, and I have like not FU money, but like if I have like $500 burning a hole and I have the space for it, like if I got a condo or something, I'd like to get one of those, because you can just basically put skins of these sorts of things over top of it.
Yeah, like some of those are pretty cool. I actually played, I think it was a Pinball FX table. This was like 1,000 years ago, but it was ported to PlayStation 4 and all my licenses transferred over. So
from back from PS3, right?
Yeah. So I have the Terminator 2 table. I've got Star Trek The Next Generation. I got Addams Family, Starship Troopers.
And as far as I can tell, those aren't in the game anymore.
Yeah, so I'm glad I got the licenses to those, because those tables, I remember getting a PS3 from you years ago specifically so I could rescue this, and then it was later ported, and thinking, all right, cool, I'm set.
And that's the thing, they ported it. They have a PS4 version. That's one of the things we reviewed in the past, and then a Switch version, and then they obviously did a PS5 version that's just everything you own for PS4 transfers over, but some of the stuff that was licensed years ago, like you had for PS3, does not.
Yeah, so that
sucks. So some of it's trapped, not because of Zen's fault. It's just their license was up.
Yeah,
and maybe they're not going to license it for a while, but they still, like, it looks like they've gotten some interesting tables recently. So we'll talk briefly about that, and then the other review is probably, if everything looks fine, it's probably going to be one of the JajaMaru collections, which is collections of old games from Jalico.
All right, so we will be talking about all that and more right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net. I've been Mike the Birdman. He's been Alex, producer, and we're going to jump right into one of Alex's reviews right now. So we'll be back right after this, only on ThisWeekInGeek.net.
Alex here with just a quick review of some of the new tables available in Pinball FX. Our friends over there sent review codes for some of the newer tables, like the Marvel Pinball Collection, the Gearbox Table Collection, Indiana Jones Pinball Adventure, as well as a code that would let us get a 1 month subscription to let us try out pretty much all the back catalog of tables that are available there. And we've talked about them in the past for when they ported stuff to the Switch and then the PS4. And we know that Birdman was a big fan and had the tables back on the previous generation, like PS3 and that. And, we just wanted to get a feel for how they work. Are they entertaining enough? Do they, visually pop? Do they give you that exciting feel as you play them? The Back to the Future and the Jurassic Park tables are pretty much, I would say, entry-level tables in that kids can pick up and play. They're not overly difficult. They're easy to read the play space and play without having to be super laser quick on the focus or having to be super in tune with the flippers, and making sure that the play field is not overly difficult to read, or the patterns are not difficult to read, or what you have to do to get your combos and points up. They're very well designed, as all pinball effects titles and tables have been. There's also one we tried. There's one for The Mandalorian and Episode 5 of Star Wars, and those are pretty fun. Indiana Jones, the Pinball Adventure. That was a personal favorite. Gearbox stuff, it's cool that they've got licensed properties. If you're a big fan of Gearbox games, I would say it's worth it. They're fun and entertaining. I got more enjoyment, I think, out of the Marvel stuff, as well as the Back to the Future stuff. But there's tons. There's like, I probably went through like 25 different tables that I was playing through just to get a feel for everything. And, you know, I do like that they're licensing more and more. I wish that some of the licenses they had in the past would, you know, carry forward, but obviously times are up with some of them. It is cool that they keep having these packages come out. So if you're somebody who, you know, wants to give it a try, the actual application and game is free to download. So you can download it, and then you can either purchase individual tables, or you can get like a subscription, and, you know, either pay by the month or pay by the year, and, you know, play multiple tables that way. I played it on the PS4 and the PS5. I didn't notice any major discernible difference. They seem to both play at the same resolution as far as I could tell, except the PS5 version maybe loaded slightly faster. I'm playing both versions on the PS5, obviously, and I guess the PS5 version is slightly smaller in size because they can compress it a little better. But either way, you'll have a pretty good experience playing it on any PlayStation platform, and there's tons of different tables available that you can try out. I would say, you know, give it a try. It's good for like a rainy day afternoon where you miss going to the arcades, but you can't actually get out to them. And a lot of them won't even have tables like this, you know, even in person anymore. So if you want to try out some of the more interesting tables out there, this is probably the best way to do it.
The Prime Minister of Sweden visited Washington today, and my tiny little nipples went to France.
Gossip, rumors, panic in the streets. We're lucky.
This Week in Geek.
Welcome back to ThisWeekInGeek.net, where the news is as fresh as the milk in the back of your fridge. I'm Mike the Birdman. He's Alex, the producer. All right, so we only have a couple stories this week because me and Alex are both frankly exhausted.
Well, and it's just scheduling is not going to be...
And it's kind of a light news week, too, honestly.
I mean, or things that are follow-ups or we're trying not to talk about rumors or, like, you know what I mean? Like, if there's like, hey, this is rumored to happen, it's like, well, it's a rumor. We're not talking rumors. This isn't geek rumors, it's geek news.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the only time we would ever talk about a rumor is if it's a really good insider who has a known track record, but otherwise, nah, fam, we are not that. What's that website that we both hate? Oh, WeGotThisCovered.com. If you post a link from there, first off, go to hell, okay? Go straight to hell.
We got this covered, or what's the other one? Bounding Into is another one. Like, there's a few of them where they're blogs masquerading as news, but they make up 90% of what's there.
Yeah, it's like super clickbait, or I'm gonna reach so far as to be Mr. Fantastic. It's ridiculous. But we do have some real news to talk about this week, and this one I thought was actually kind of cool, and I'm actually kind of surprised this didn't happen a lot sooner. So coming from comingsoon.net, TMNT versus Street Fighter comic book series gets plot details and images. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are set for another crossover, this time with the world of Capcom Street Fighter, as IDW recently unveiled a new comic series titled Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles vs. Street Fighter, set to release in May. The new crossover series will span 5 issues, written by Paul Aller, with art by Ariel Metal and colors by Sarah Meyer. In typical comics fashion, the series will also receive multiple variant covers for its 5 issues, with covers from Medell, TMNT co-creator Kevin Eastman, and also retailer limited incentive editions from Vencio, or how do I pronounce this, Alex? It's Italian.
Let me pull it up now. Give me 1 second.
Vincenzo, maybe?
Let me see. Eastman and from sorry, that's ad blocker won't let me.
Anyways,
I'll tell you. You want to hear a quick rant?
Yes.
You know what? If you don't want me to use an ad blocker, don't put intrusive ads.
Yeah, exactly. Don't, where it gets in the way of the news. Nah. I'll support you if you're not a prick.
There are 2 things that are destroying the internet, and they think all these companies think that having ad blocker is destroying the internet. No, what's destroying the internet is, one, you allowing to have hundreds of intrusive ads on your website, and two, news websites that require, after reading 3 articles, that you pay to read their news.
Yeah, no.
You know what? If I wanted to do that, I would buy a newspaper.
Exactly.
And if I'm not going to do that, and if I'm not going to pay like $3 for a news aggregate site that has everything, I'm sorry, New York Times or the Post, you're never going to get my business. In fact, I will go out of my way to tell everybody not to get your business. And if you fall and dissolve and destroy yourselves, it's your own fault for your greed.
Yes.
Anyway,
yes.
but yes, Vincenzo Federici or Federici.
So the article continues, says, quote, "It feels amazing to bring these iconic brands together," said Aller in a statement on the release. Quote, "I grew up with all these characters, though in very different ways, watching TMNT cartoons on Saturday morning, and then a few years later, desperately smashing buttons while being absolutely destroyed at Street Fighter 2. Readers are going to have so much fun watching these characters come together as they face an enormous threat to both teams. From Mikey and Chun-Li's unlikely bond to Wrath and Guile's rivalry and mutual but very begrudging respect, the book has it all: humor, danger, a massive number of twists and turns, and a ton of amazing, brutal, over-the-top, bonkers fight scenes. It's going to be a blast." According to the description of the comic, the story will follow the iconic group of turtles running into the crew from the Street Fighter games. What follows is an instant clash between the two, who are eager to show off their combat and skills against one another. Arriving in Atlantic City to compete in a prestigious fighting tournament, reads the full description of the comic series, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles quickly run afoul of the world-famous Street Fighter crew and their legendary psycho-powered fighting forms. Both are eager to show off their moves and prove their mettle in combat. The two teams instantly clash, sparking a crackling rivalry that can only be resolved with fists and steel and maybe a hurricane kick or two. While tensions are already masked, the pressure mounts even further as both teams find themselves embroiled in a wave of mysterious disappearances plaguing the city. Could the tournament's mystery benefactor be to blamed? While the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Street Fighter may sound like an odd pair, and the iconic comic group is no stranger to appearing with other popular properties. Previously, TMNT had crossovers with the Power Rangers, Batman, Ghostbuster, Archie, and even appeared in the fighting game Injustice 2. Now, there actually is a Street Fighter and Turtles action figures that you can get right now in stores. They're not the greatest, in my opinion. This ain't it, fam, to say the least. Now, if they release figures based on the IDW artwork, I would definitely be a lot more inclined. This actually sounds kind of cool, and I'm going to guess the people that are running the tournament are obviously Shredder and Bison, with maybe Akuma being the secret end boss to all this.
Are we going to get, or do we get Super Bison with Ooze?
That's probably the final boss. They're like, your psycho power mixed with power from Dimension X and blah, 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 which means it'll be Fugitoids and foot soldiers. Yeah, this could actually be kind of cool. I mean, all things considered, I mean, when I read this story, I got to thinking, okay, what am I going to see? So it'll be Bebop and Rocksteady paired with probably Vega and Balrog. Zangief is going to have to fight one of the Turtles guys. Yeah.
How much do you want to bet Zangief has a fight, then he gets tired, so they have pizza together?
Yeah, like, it's going to be ridiculous like that. You're going to have someone make a joke at E Honda's expense. I'm thinking one of the big fight scenes will be Vega versus Raph because of the Metal Claw versus size. I think that'll be a pretty big fight. I'm hoping.
Oh, and is Leo going to be like training with Ryu or Ken?
That's what I'm going to guess. Or I'd like to see this, if they can squeeze this in, Sakura, who's kind of Ryu's like kind of protege. Ryu and Sakura have a sparring match with like Donatello and Leo. And maybe Sakura's like, hey, maybe I could learn from this turtle guy instead. You're always so busy, master.
How about Cammy going undercover in disguise as April O'Neil.
That would be cool because she's got that like MI6 training. Yeah, see, this could be really awesome.
That's what I'm saying. Like you're like they think Bison or somebody, the threader, thinks that they've captured April O'Neil, and then she just throws off the trench coat and the wig, and it's Cammy, and she does like blast them.
Yeah, does like cannon spikes and drill punches. Like, yeah, like honestly, I'm actually really looking forward to this.
Or the Turtles, to celebrate with Chun-Li, they end up getting pizza with Chinese food on top, something weird.
Yeah, like
they'd be like, oh, what's, what would you like on your pizza? And he's like, Mushu pork or something.
Yeah, Mushu and prawns and shit. Yeah, like honestly, sometimes these IDW crossovers can be kind of goofy because like in the article they mentioned some of the crossovers that have happened. Like there's a Ghostbusters Transformers crossover, but the last time the Turtles crossed with Power Rangers, which there's a new thing happening right now, it's really good and it's actually really, really interesting. So IDW, they've got a pretty good track record of doing stuff. They haven't mishandled the property, at least as far as I know. In fact, speaking of comic books, Friday afternoon, I had a few hours before the hockey game, and I've got access to a bunch of comics. So I read about 30 issues of the IDW Transformers comic going all the way back to the beginning. Man, this shit is so well written. My God, I'm having a fucking blast with this because I'm kind of preparing for our RPG thing, but at the same time, I can't copy everything these guys have done because it's so fucking good.
Now, it's tangentially related, but I heard, isn't G.I. Joe's comics going to be handled by a new company?
I don't know, because I know IDW lost a bunch of its properties. So I don't know.
Apparently, when I say new company, I mean like a new company that's never really existed or been heard of before.
I don't know, because I know.
Let me pull that up right now because that's because that would be interesting.
Because I know Transformers changed hands from IDW pretty recently, and I know Marvel's got a bunch of stuff like Aliens and some other stuff.
Are they at Boom or where are they at now?
I'm pretty sure it's not Boom. Like, and even with the Boom stuff, I haven't kept up so much. Which, by the way, kids, buy your comics physical because Uncle Birdman lost access to about 4 years of digital comics because the company Madefire went out of business, and I can't reset my password to log back in and recover all my stuff.
Oh.
Yeah, so I was kind of pissed. Although Dark Horse was really good about it. When I told them I bought it through this Madefire app, they're like, oh yeah, no problem. We'll hook you up with everything you got. Just tell us specifically what you had. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I got my Mass Effect omnibuses and some of my early Alien comics. So that was really nice of them.
I know it was on Twitter. Somebody was posting the company that got it, but I'm having trouble trying to find it now.
I used to read the G.I. Joe Devil's Due publishing. That stuff was really good. In fact, whenever me and JT decide to get together and do a Sunday Funny show, I really wouldn't mind talking about some of these 80s properties and not just covering it like individual issues, but just talk about how the runs are handled by companies, because some of them you get some really, really good runs out of them. Like I remember there was one G.I. Joe crossover with Transformers where Unicron and Serpentor teamed up to fight the Joes and the Autobots, and it got friggin' weird. So like sometimes some of these properties are really good. I mean, like one of the weirder ones I remember, like, because they mentioned Archie. They had Archie versus the Predator, and it got just as violent and as fucked up as you can imagine. I think I remember Reggie having his spine pulled out. And this is done in the Archie style, if I remember correctly.
Oh, God.
I remember Archie versus the Punisher when that came out in the 1990s. And I remember we talked about this years ago. So if you remember when I think it was you and me, Alex, we did the Asylum's Sharknado movies. I think I briefly talked about the Archie versus Sharknado.
Yeah, I think you did. You're right.
Which was a thing. So anyway, this is going to be coming out sometime in May. No street date has officially been announced.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead.
I think it's Power Comics.
I've never heard of them.
This is probably going to be announced on Wednesday. But Power Comics posted a thing saying Power Comics has a pretty big announcement coming Wednesday, March 1st. Here's a little hint with arrows pointing down, and it's a big picture of G.I. Joe.
Ooh. All right. I'm in.
So I'm looking up what Power Comics is. Because I don't think anybody's heard of them. I know it's not rumors, but we say we're not talking rumors, but this would not appear to be a rumor.
Yeah. So we shall have to wait and see what happens. So this next story comes courtesy of website comicbook.com. Konami reportedly planning, quote, pretty big E3. Over the last few weeks, there's been a lot of buzz surrounding E3 2023, which companies will be in attendance. Organizer Reed Pop confirmed to comicbooks.com that the show is, quote, full speed ahead and participants will be revealed soon. This hasn't happened just yet, but it seems an appearance by Konami was recently confirmed by Video Game Chronicles podcast. Apparently, Konami will have a, quote, pretty big E3 with a new Castlevania and a remake of Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater set to appear. Until we get official confirmation, readers should take this with a grain of salt. For the last few years, Konami has been moving away from video game development, focusing mostly on compilations of older games and other aspects of its business. Last year, it looks like things are starting to shift as the company announced several new projects based on its Silent Hill franchise. Following these announcements, fans of Metal Gear and Castlevania were feeling a bit jealous. However, if this report is accurate, it would seem that Konami has some big plans in store. E3 could be the perfect place for a Castlevania or Metal Gear to take the spotlight, and Konami could give a lot of attention with the absence of Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony. There are a lot of questions surrounding E3 2023, which will have games to showcase. We know that Ubisoft is planning to attend, and with Konami reportedly coming as well, the event is starting to take shape. If Reed Pop is hoping to bring E3 back to its former glory, the organizer is going to need publishers on this level to attend, and this has seemed like a pretty good start. We don't know if companies like Capcom, EA, or Sega will be there, but it seems like information is starting to come by at a fast clip. Currently, E3 2023 is set to take place on Tuesday, June 13th through Friday, June 16th, which of course we always cover here on TWIG. I will be back this year to give my kind of commentary on it as I'm starting to get back into it with the Xbox Series X and the PS5 life cycle of consoles. If Konami is smart, you will package you can do this as a remaster if you want, but you've released Metal Gear Solid, the Twin Snakes, just fucking deal with it. Otherwise, completely remake that game from scratch with a full trailer. Or you do straight enhanced ports of Twin Snakes, Metal Gear Solid 2 Subsistence. You can pack in this new remake game like you want, kind of like the Halo Master Chief Collection. And you finally put Metal Gear Solid 4, Sons of the Patriots, and Peace Walker into one complete collection. I will gladly pay $100. If you wanted me to add some extra value to that, put in Metal Gear 1 and 2 for the NES and Metal Gear Acid, and you've got a seller right there.
What I think is going to happen, and I don't know what the ownership is like or what the licensing is like or what the arrangements are initially for the original release, if it's in perpetuity or if it's not. I think we're going to get Metal Gear 4 remastered.
I hope so, because that game, it was a really goddamn good game, and it wrapped up Snake's story in a very spectacular fashion. I know just recently they did...
But it internally rendered, I think, at 720p.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they upscaled it and it was, but like seeing that with 4K textures at 60.
Yeah. Like,
and it's locked to the PS3 and there's streaming of it, or there had been on, PS4 and PS5. Looks like crap when you stream it, because it is what it is. Would they think they could get a full $80 out of it?
I don't know. I mean, maybe 50, maybe.
Like 49 American, 59 Canadian, maybe.
I mean, one thing that made me very interested in covering this story because Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance just had an anniversary, and its soundtrack still trends consistently on Spotify. Which, by the way, best soundtrack in the fucking franchise. Fight me. Like having Metal Gear Solid 4 again, port that. Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, it doesn't need that much work. Maybe just an upscale, like you kind of mentioned. Just make it look good. And I don't know.
Make that game, Rising Revengeance, make that run at 120 hertz for people that have the TVs for it.
Yeah, like
make that even like make that 4K 60 or 1080p 120, and people would love it.
Yeah, I mean, okay, here, Konami, I'm going to give you some marketing plans. So listen up. Here's what you do. You take all your Metal Gear games, and if you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, you follow the Capcom model. What do I mean by that? You put the games in the collections. You have Metal Gear Core Collection, Metal Gear Side Story Collection. So if you want the full Metal Gear experience, you got to buy 2 separate games, 2 separate collections, and each of these come with all their special features. So that's all the documentaries, as upscaled as you possibly can, because I understand when these were shot, they're probably like 460 or whatever the hell the old interlace used to be. Put that in there. Give me all the promotional artwork, all the galleries, everything you possibly can, and I will gladly pay $60-$70 a pop. And I know someone's saying, oh, Birdman, they can't do that to us. Nah, motherfucker, I want this. I will pay for it. As for a new Castlevania, okay, I want you to give me a new Castlevania. That's wonderful. But give me ports of Castlevania, Lords of Shadows. And if you really want to impress me for $5, $10, whatever, give me the Castlevania Judgment, which was the fighting game from the Nintendo Wii, and give it new enhanced controls, whatever. Or there was a game that was exclusively locked to WiiWare, Castlevania Adventure. And that game is dead. Unless you've got a Wii U that ported that over before that eShop shut down, that game is lost.
You know what we're more likely to get? They'd be like, oh, we're doing a remaster, upscale, whatever, blah blah blah, deluxe edition of Castlevania. You'd be like, oh, cool. Which ones are they? And it'll be the 2 N64 ones.
Those ones will never get re-released. There's no way in hell. Watch, they'll end up on Nintendo Online or something.
That's what I'm gonna say. They'll show up on there, or you know what they're gonna do? They're gonna go, we're gonna give you multiple Metal Gear collections, and it'll be Metal Gear Legacy, and it will just be 3 games. It'll be Metal Gear 1 and 2. I don't think we ever got 2, did we?
Yes.
And then no, that was a different game.
No,
Snake Eater or Snake, whatever.
It was released on the NES as Snake's Revenge. It was also released on the MSX.
Snake, no, it's a different game. Snake's Revenge is a completely different game, I think.
It's not. I played them.
I'm double checking that right now because I'm like 99% sure that's a different game entirely.
I would bet you lunch on that. Now, it does have weird continuity because it technically doesn't take place, because it's weird that Big Boss is magically back from Zanzibar land, and it's weird.
They are separate games.
They are separate games?
There's Metal Gear. 1 second here. I'm pulling them up because they're listed as separate entries on Wikipedia. Metal Gear, which we got, obviously, from 1987.
Yeah.
Snake's Revenge. It is a standalone sequel to Metal Gear, released in North America under the Ultra brand, and was never released in Japan. Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake is a sequel who conceived the game in a response. Okay, Kojima had nothing to do with Snake's Revenge.
Yes, that is true.
So these are completely separate games. So yes, so I would say they would put those 3, together, and then they try to charge you like $50.
Yeah, so we're both right, but it's weird. Yeah.
Well, they're not even related. Like, they're both sequels to it's the Highlander thing.
Yeah.
Highlander 2 and 3 are both sequels to Highlander 1, but not to each other.
Which is so weird because they try and I remember there was some document of Metal Gear Solid that came out years ago, and they tried to connect them, and it's just canonically. It doesn't work.
It's the same thing that Konami did with
Lords of Shadow.
No, it was like it's Contra, and then they had Super C, but then there was Contra Force, which was not a Contra game. They reskinned a different game and called it Contra.
Yeah, and then there was like Hardcore, which was something else too. Yeah, that's another brand that hasn't been taken very well.
Hardcore is different. It's the Genesis version of what was the Super Nintendo one?
Contra 3 Alien Wars.
Yeah, they were developed at the same time, and it's Hyperstone Heist and Turtles in Time all over again.
Yeah. Basically, they might share some similar assets, but the games are completely different.
Konami was probably the most notorious out of all the big companies to do that, where they would make the same game for different platforms, but change enough of it that they're considered different games.
Yeah, and Hyperstone Heist being the most annoying version of this, although Tournament Fighters being a better version of this because you got different combatants and the storylines were slightly different, if I remember right. Although if you want to find that out, you can get the TMNT Cowabunga collection. By the way, that's the way this should be fucking done. You want to put all these Metal Gear games out again. If they followed what they did for Cowabunga collection and gave us the same level of attention and care, I would gladly pay $100 for that.
The only problem was there was only ever 3 games pre 3D graphics, so they would all these companies like Konami, they consider 3D games to be a separate thing.
Yeah,
they never ever put like you notice when they do like the Castlevania collections, they never put any of the 3D ones in ever.
Although I just had a thought too, if you were to do this collection, you could do the Raiden collection, which would be a remastered Metal Gear Solid 2 Subsistence and Metal Gear Revising. And that I'd be willing to pay $40-$50 for. And then you could do the Solid Snake Legacy collection, which could be Metal Gear 1 for the NES. And you get the Twin Snakes. And you get Snake Eater. And you could probably put Peace Walker. Or you could have the big boss games, which would be Metal Gear, Peace Walker, Acid 1 and 2. And I guess that'd be
what I see happening, if they do anything, would be 1, 2, and 3, and it would be Twin Snakes version.
Yeah.
It'd be Twin Snakes 2 and 3 in a package, and then 4 would get a separate full remaster on its own.
Yeah, like, and honestly,
and that's if they work out a deal where they can release it on multiple platforms.
Yeah, because honestly, like having this as a Sony exclusive would be, on one hand, beautiful, great, and I would support that. But I think more eyes on the Metal Gear franchise, make money. Go ahead, I'm fine with it.
If that's the only way to get it done, though, I'd be happy with it being brought forward just to PlayStation. If it's a case of Konami's like, we're not going to do it, but Sony's like, we want to fill the gap because we don't have a lot of games coming.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if Sony paid for this and you could put it on PC as well, maybe, yeah, sure. I don't know how much that would happen, because I know in terms of Metal Gear games for PC, there aren't that many. So yeah, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I mean, ultimately, Konami, don't let me down, please, because you hold such valuable IP.
Watch it be Bucky O'Hare or something show up instead.
You know what? I'd be really cool if that showed up on Nintendo Online, actually.
Because I mean, well, no, they'd be like, we're doing big budget remaster of Bucky O'Hare, and you're like, what?
But say, well, no one saw that coming. Here's Sunset Riders again, which you can get on the virtual arcade, by the way. I was very, very, very surprised when that came out.
Really?
Yeah, I got it for like $5 2 years ago on the Switch. I was like, all right.
Because like I'm looking at what they've got franchise wise, because they always dig into the well of just the same 2 or 3 franchises, but they do own other things, right? Like some of it was licensed stuff, so we're not going to see a Goonies remake.
No, but you know what? Even if they did if they followed again the same model that Capcom did for their Stadium Arcadium collection, which I'm actually a very big fan of. If they did that with all their classic arcade titles and charged the exact same Capcom model, am I saying it's going to be as successful? Probably not, but it would be worth it. Or if they put all the if they put all their NES library stuff out, again, there's some expired licenses in there that probably have to renegotiate.
Yeah, you could throw in some of the classics like Blades of Steel. Like I would like to see some of these get, or Bayou Billy. I'd like to see some of them get like remasters, as in like what .emu's doing. that sort of style, like bring uplifting something a little bit, maybe still making it pixel art, but making it
Okay.
more modern.
I'm going to pitch an idea to you right here, right now. Okay, so we've had games from .emu such as Streets of Rage 4, right? Okay, picture this. So either Double Dragon or Streets of Rage, take your pick. Exclusive characters that get to show up. Again, this is going to be some Smash Brothers shit, but let's make this happen. You give me Bayou Billy in one of those franchises as an exclusive pre-order character or whatever, or pay $5, and Mike Hagar or Cody or Guy from Final Fight. I will pay that shit all day.
Because I'm looking, their NES titles, they had a lot of licensed stuff, and then they had some that, maybe weren't. But I had forgot that they own, and let me just double check to make sure. Yeah, they own the Mystical Ninja series. Why have we not seen Goemon titles come out?
I think we did, but they're under a different publisher now.
Well, no, they're owned by them.
Because I remember getting a game from one of our friends named Mika 2 years ago, and I think it was a Mystical Ninja game. Or maybe I'm thinking Pocky and Rocky. I don't know.
You're thinking Pocky and Rocky. That's for sure from them.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the Mystical Ninja, we only ever got a few of them, and there's a bunch that were released on previous platforms. You could do a collection of all of them, do it in English, throw them on, because I think the Mystical Ninja, they've got how many games in that franchise?
Like 5 or 6.
Gambar Goemon, 2 arcade games, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on Nintendo platforms, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on Sony platforms. And on Game Boy, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on Game Boy. They could easily do a TMNT collection like that. And because they're more action-based, there's not a lot of English to translate on the ones we haven't received.
Mm-hmm.
So they could put like 10 games on one box set and release that. And that's a big franchise in Japan that only, like we had 2 on the Super Nintendo. I think there was 3 or 4.
Yeah.
That were released in Japan. And then we got the 2 on the N64. And then that was it. Like, and if they didn't want to do like full English translations of like the PlayStation or all the Game Boy ones or whatever, you could do the 2 Super Nintendo ones that we got. I think it was 2 Super and 2 N64 ones, and then throw like 1 new one in there,
Mm-hmm.
and you could get 5 games, and they could charge $50 for that. People would probably pay it. Because like looking at the other stuff, they had the Warner Brothers license back in the day, so they did a lot of like Tiny Toon Adventures, that kind of stuff. That won't get re-released unless they were to sign some big deal with Warner, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they also did, like you said, Sunset Riders.
Yeah.
Sparkster, which was
that's a
Rocket
fantastic game, by the way.
The Sparkster and Rocket Knight, the 2 of them together, they could easily do higher definition, quality versions of that. Throw that on, a package together, because they're going to want to go cheap with a lot of the stuff if they're showing up at E3.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to want to do a ton of like big budget titles. I'm trying to think of what they have PlayStation wise that they would want to put out, because that's where we're going to start to see things like, how we've got like Suikoden coming out, and we've got a few other titles that are like, they already announced Suikoden 1 and 2 is getting remastered, and that's HD version coming out. So maybe they're going to go with more of those, because those are medium budgets. Like, not by medium, I mean medium for them. They don't do like super big budget games anymore, right? So, there's that. How about Police Knots?
Yes. Why the hell?
Now
it's because Kojima.
It's because Kojima, but they technically own them, right? And Police Knots has a fan translation. People have been patching it for years. Why not? Why don't we get Snatcher? And Snatcher already had an English release. They have the files. We've seen what companies can do with the original files, like with Sewer Shark and all those shitty games, right? They ended up releasing like full HD versions. Well, that the original art is there somewhere. So, they don't have to have Kojima's permission to release them. And they could even put his name on it, and he can't say anything about it because they're his games that he made back then for them. But Snatcher and Police Knots could easily come out. Vandal Hearts was a decent RPG series that they had. They had a few in the franchise they could put out. And these are things that are easily enough ported. Add some trophies, add some upscaling, add some fast forward rewind stuff, and people will be probably pretty happy with it overall. And then, beyond that, they own the Dance Dance Revolution stuff. I guess you could bring that back, but rhythm games are sort of dying.
And the only company really doing that is Ubisoft with the Just Dance series, and that series is starting to see declining returns. In fact, I know Just Dance 2023 didn't sell that well.
Yeah, and we know that. Yeah, you're right. There's that. But we also know that they are doing the Silent Hill stuff. That's probably going to be the big stuff they're going to show off. Is the stuff that's been rumored that way, as far as big budget titles.
Mm-hmm.
And they're licensing them out to other companies to actually make. But that doesn't mean that they're not going to, do the same thing with other productions that they've got or they've had in the past. Because I think RPGs they know are the way to go. Because yes, there's English. The biggest changes that they might have to do is script updates. But beyond that, people view RPGs as decent value. So you can charge $40 for a JRPG collection, where you might not be able to do that for games that only have like an hour of gameplay.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, I know it sounds a little counterintuitive to say, I want Konami to succeed, but I want them to succeed for the gamer in all of this. And I know I've said this before on Twitter. Sometimes I don't feel like much of a gamer much anymore. And yet I just spent most of my night where I could be sleeping playing a video game from 2001. You really want to win me back to come back into this culture and be really thrilled with the storyline. Give me these classic games from my childhood and give them the love and attention that the Cowabunga collection got. And I will gladly pay it.
And throw us a curveball, say, hey, we're doing an HD remaster of Evolution Skateboarding or something.
There's so much potential here, and I want to see these games again on platforms. Again, if you do the right work on it, people will come back. You'll get new fans. You will see these franchises flourish again, and that makes stakeholders happy. That makes gamers happy. Everybody wins. So anyway, that's going to do it for this edition of the Nerd News, only on ThisWeekInGeek.net. And we're going to listen to one of my reviews this week. And this one comes courtesy of our friends over at Hasbro. We're going to be looking at Transformers Legacy. This is the Voyager class figure of the Predacon Inferno, who was also voiced by the guy from the Highlander the series. So bringing that old chestnut back, Jim Byrne. So we will be back, guys, right after this, only on ThisWeekInGeek.net. I've been Mike the Birdman. He's been Alice the producer. We will be back right after this. So until then, Predacons terrorize.
Ugh, another insect. How depressing. Are you sure it's a Predacon?
I am Tarantulas, your creator. Identify yourself.
Spiders! You dare invade the colony! Inferno! Terrorize!
Hey guys, this is Mike the Birdman here, and I'm here to talk to you about something really awesome that we got sent over from our friends at Hasbro. I'm talking about Transformers Legacy. This is the Voyager class Predacon Inferno from the Beast Wars television series. Inferno was one of my favorite characters growing up. In fact, let me tell you a really quick story of how Birdman was really stupid. I traded away a Super Nintendo copy of Chrono Trigger for a broken version of Inferno when it came out in the 90s. That is how much I loved this character. Seeing this character get released in the Voyager class scale again is fantastic, because I actually purchased one off of Facebook that's about 80% complete for about $20. And getting this Legacy Voyager class, this is everything I ever wanted in a figure. And allow me to explain why. So, first off, the sculpt is phenomenal. And what I mean is the thing that really sets this apart from the vintage Inferno back in the day, which was made out of this kind of red, and parts of it were this translucent plastic, is Predacon Inferno from the Legacy line has texture. And when you feel his back piece and his thorax, his butt piece, there's all this weird kind of rough texture to it. And his legs have bumps and ridges. There's his antennae have texture, his eyes have texture, and even the jaw can open up to the ridiculous emotive states that he was like in the original Beast Wars cartoon. So you can recreate so many cool poses with this. You know, you'll be shouting for the royalty by the end of it. It's fantastic. I mean, it has this incredible bright blue metallic paint. It's got just so many nice little attention to detail. And you can even recreate that spinning butt thing he used to do back in the day, and that's how the character used to fly. And his weapon looks, it's not exactly his like ant head cannon that he had from the cartoon, and it's not the same weapon that I have from my original Beast Wars cartoon, if I'm remembering correctly, but it still looks awesome. It's sort of like an update to this character, but it is undeniably Inferno. And when you transform this guy, he looks amazing in that fire ant mode. I mean, Hasbro knocked it out of the park. So you have, if I remember correctly, all the Season 1 Predacons now. You've got Megatron, you've got Pterosaur, Tarantulas, Black Arachnia, Scorponok. So I am holding out hope that we'll see some of the Fusors down the line. Like, I would love to get Quick Strike, just because I thought he looked cool too. But just having all the Season 1 Predacons, this is awesome. Like, seriously, for a Voyager class figure, you're getting an incredible piece of engineering. It looks great. The transformation is fun and easy. It folds up really nicely. The fact that he can store his butt cannon and he can recreate all those flying poses. So maybe if you get one of those like figure stands, I don't have any personally, you could probably do something with that. He can hold his gun and everything. Maybe I'll see if there's like third-party add-ons for like fire effects or something like that. But no, seriously, Predacon Inferno from Transformers Legacy, it's incredible. Like, if you love the Beast Wars series from the 90s, you absolutely have to pick this up if you're a Predacon fan. In fact, almost everything from the Beast Wars line has been really amazing. And like I said, the only thing I would love to see is some of the Fusors. So to see Silver Bowl, to see Quick Strike, even Tigerhawk down the line. I don't even care if that was a convention exclusive. Maybe I would get that. Maybe Depth Charge, Rampage. Oh my god, can you imagine if they did Rampage? I mean, we have Transmetal 2 Megatron available, and I'm gonna have to hunt that one down. So Hasbro, if you're listening, yeah, like, I'm seriously impressed with this. Seriously, you cannot go wrong with Predacon Inferno. This comes from the Transformers Legacy line. If you find this, get it for the colony.
The colony! Whoever has done this thing will burn. Inferno, terrorize!
Go crazy?
Don't mind if I do!
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Welcome back to ThisWeekInGeek.net. All right, we are back here to talk about the strange, the unusual, the most fucked up things that happened around the planet this past week. I'm, of course, Mike the Birdman. He's Zach's producer. We're going to start things off from the website, thehill.com. Man threatening to blow up Hollywood sign calls wrong police report. Ever mistakenly sent a text to the wrong person with the same name? Maybe you meant to coordinate a brunch with Mark E, but accidentally extended the invitation to Mark L? That's essentially what happened to a caller who reportedly attempted to phone in a bomb threat to police in Hollywood, the one in California, but mistakenly called the Hollywood Police Department in Florida. On Sunday, dispatchers for the Broward County Sheriff's Department fielded the call after the suspect presumably looked up the wrong phone number and dialed the authorities in Hollywood, Florida. The threat, according to law enforcement who spoke to TMZ, involved blowing up the Hollywood sign located 2,700 miles west of where the would-be criminal directed their phone call. The caller demanded, and you'll love this, Alex, $10,000 to spare the iconic sign, TMZ reports. KTLA spoke with both the Florida and California authorities, who said they were aware of the call. A report was eventually directed to the proper agency at the Los Angeles Police Department, and the call was determined to be a hoax and the threat non-existent. It's understandable how someone might confuse the two Hollywoods, but both are in close proximity to the ocean, and in the States they both made claim to be the Sunshine Crown. But the big giveaway should have been the fact that Hollywood, California doesn't have its own police department, whereas Hollywood, Florida does. In the future, any Bond villain in training might want to take a moment to become familiar with some of America's famous duplicates. There are 2 Portlands, Oregon and Maine, Kansas Cities, Missouri and Kansas.
Let's be honest, for all of our people in Portland, Maine that might be listening to us, you're not the real Portland.
Long Beach.
It's like people in Canada that think, you're not the real London. I'm sorry, you're not the real London.
Long Beach, California, which I knew about, and New Jersey, which I didn't. Major U.S. Disney properties in Orange County and California and Orange County, Florida, or maybe just refrain from making criminal threats, whereas you're good or bad at geography. Yeah. What a weird amount to ask. I'm going to blow up the Hollywood sign unless I get $10,000.
Now,
fine, fuck off. Here you go.
This sounds like a Florida guy trying to call in something,
or
to
some
California.
kid, like $10,000.
$10,000. This is somebody who needs to pay off their meth debt.
Yeah, and okay, and I think I actually knew that Hollywood, California doesn't have its own police department because that would technically fall under Beverly Hills or whatever county that particular, or maybe Studio City.
Well, what's weird is Los Angeles, like Hollywood is part of Los Angeles.
Yes.
So they don't have their own. Now, and LA has the Los Angeles Police Department, but they also have LA County Sheriffs.
Yes.
Which is different. And if you're like, what does that mean? As far as I can tell,
city cops and rural cops?
Yeah, city cops, highway, rural cops.
Or CHIPs or whatever, right?
That CHIPs will be part of, I guess that would be part of the LAPD. But it's like inner city, it's like here, it's like the OPP, the Ontario Provincial Police, they're not really state troopers. They're just the police for that county, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make sense to me why they have that. It probably dates back to the LA County police sheriffs the sheriffs will predate the LAPD.
Mm-hmm.
They probably had them like 100 years ago versus a centralized police force. And then when the city grew, they would have had to build a police force. Unlike a lot of other cities like on the East Coast where they had a police force for the city before they even had a state police. So it's probably like LA, it's probably one of those weird things where they have highway patrol state troopers, then they also have LA County sheriffs, and then they also have police. Because if you notice, when you're getting it, it's weird. In the city, if you're getting evicted, they'll call the sheriff from the county, not the city police. So there's weird laws and weird things tied up. But regardless, Hollywood is not a city. Like, it is, and you know what I mean? It's like a suburb of Los Angeles, right? So they would use if you were to call, it's like, I'm going to call the police and I'm going to call the Hollywood police. You'd be calling the LAPD. You wouldn't be calling anybody else.
So yeah, it's like, again, this is some dipshit kid or somebody who doesn't quite get what they're doing. I'm glad you are probably going to get in trouble because not like the FBI can't find you.
Well, if it's a crank call, I mean, when I was a kid, we did dumb stuff at my second cousin's wedding in 1995 or 6. We were kids, we were under the age of 11 or 12. And we were at this hotel where they were, they rented out the ballroom and everything. And my cousins and I thought it would be funny to go to every single payphone, dial 911 and hang up.
Oh my God.
So you can see where this is going. And my uncle comes up and he goes, "You guys probably shouldn't be doing that. You're going to get in trouble." I said, "If we're going to get in trouble, then we should just," and I picked up the phone, dial 911 and then hang up and laughing. And then we did that from 15 different phones, let it ring one time and then hung up. And
I'm guessing those cops showed up quick.
Well, yeah, the hotel manager showed up and is with somebody else, the SWAT team has decided to call us and ask if there's a hostage situation because they received 20 different unanswered phone calls from different pay machines.
Oh my God, Alex.
And my cousins, they were terrified of what their father would do because he was an asshole. I don't like that uncle. Anyway, my dad shows up, and he's like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "We called 911 a bunch of times," and my dad's trying not to laugh, and they're like, the hotel manager is concerned, but not like this is at a time when it was like not just boys with boys. They figured, okay, we're not bad kids, we're just messing around, and it was a teachable moment. We didn't know, because we didn't look at the fine print on the phones. We didn't know that you didn't have to put a quarter in to call 911.
Mm-hmm.
We just were playing around with the phone and all the different phones. Like, we didn't know that that emergency calls were free. And when we explained that and apologized, I had to go talk. My cousins were too terrified to, but I had to go talk to the police officer that showed up, like a captain or whatever. It was like the SWAT team was ready to come out, but instead it was just like a captain or whatever showed up after like 15, like they were there within 15 minutes, right? Because they figure a hotel bombing or something. And I had to explain to him, and he had talked to us, and he goes, "You're not in trouble, but you have to know this. And that this is a good moment for you to know that in the future, if you are in real trouble, and you should only do it if you're in real trouble, you can dial 911 and you will automatically go through. You don't have to pay." And we're like, okay. So like, it was one of those cases where we were bad, but we weren't bad. And like, that was my extent of crank calling. It was a crank call that we didn't even know we were actually doing. But I could see that. But this sounds like back in the day when you crank call somebody and be like, somebody you didn't like. If you found out your teacher's phone number and that you hated, you call me like, "I'm gonna fucking kill you," and then you hang up the phone on them. I knew kids that did that. Be like, "I'm gonna find you and I'm gonna kill you and I'm gonna kill your whole family," and you hang up, and then you find out that that's the day that the kids would find out that Star 69 existed, and they would find out who called them.
Oh yeah, like I remember when all this telephone thing was still so new, and Star 69 and Star 71, I think. One, you could use it to hide your phone number, and one thing that
Star 69, what do you remember, for all the kids listening here, and say anybody under the age of 30 probably won't remember this, that not only was call display a $10 per month extra charge if your phone even had the capability to do that, but if you wanted to find out what the last number that called you was, and you press Star 69, they charged you between 50 cents and $1 for each time you press the buttons.
Yep. I remember I racked up a significant charge with that when I was living with my parents. Now, I remember, Alex, you may not have did this. So my parents were big into Bell Satellite at one point, and they used to have visual call display. So they would watch TV and it would pop up on their TV what like kind of phone number it was.
Oh, that was how they, I don't remember how didn't they have to run a phone line
into the TV?
You had the satellite signal, but it actually had like a RJ 15 jack or whatever, the phone jack. You had to run a separate phone line into your TV. You couldn't answer things to the TV, but it would pop up with who's there and how long the call duration was.
Yep. So
I didn't do that because my grandparents had satellite, but they were the only people, and they were weird. My grandma and grandpa they were weird. They had Rogers cable and satellite, and I'm like, why? And they purchased satellite just to get like my grandpa wanted digital concerts or something so he could record higher quality audio concerts onto tapes. Because weird, but like they had that, so I never saw that, and they had like regular phone lines, but I had heard of that. I never actually saw that in use, but I do remember that being a feature they would advertise on TV.
That's kind of weird. So now that we've kind of run this conversation into the ground, which kind of surprised me. Okay, you have a really long story here, so you can interrupt me whenever you feel I've got the point of this.
I was going to say this is you can read the beginning part of it and you can skim part of it, but it's more of a topic starter.
Yeah. So this article comes courtesy of thedailybeast.com. The radical movement to worship AI as a new god. When algorithms start to govern more and more aspects of our lives, it is only a matter of time until someone starts to deify them. The Koji Temple, a place of worship for Zen Buddhists, is nestled in a quaint ward in Kyoto, Japan. To get to it, pilgrims and visitors need to traverse a bamboo grove, a Japanese garden, to arrive at a spot where it has been standing for more than 400 years. The temple welcomes worshippers the world over, with many drawn to its enigmatic priest. Mindar is a 6'4" tall, weighs 132 pounds, and has been preaching at the historic temple since 2019. The priest is well versed in the Heart Sutra, a popular and sacred mantra in Buddhism, and can often be found in the temple sermizing for its pilgrims. But Mindar is no ordinary preacher. Actuators whir as its aluminum arms wave. Mindar's face is made of a pale silicone, contorts uncannily as it recites the Heart Sutra. A close look into the eyes reveals the aperture of a camera gazing out to visitors who have come to pray. Mindar is a humanoid robot engineered by the team at Osaka University as the embodiment of Kanon, the Buddhist goddess of mercy, and Bodhisattva, or Bostava. I can't pronounce that.
Bodhistiva?
Like yeah, sorry guys if I'm kind of butchering this. It's designed to bridge the gap between traditional religious practices with the modern world, marrying the emerging technologies like AI and robotics with centuries-old spiritualism. Quote, "It was a very basic response, AI," said Beth Singler, a digital anthropologist and assistant professor in digital religion, yes, really, at the University of Zurich, told the Daily Beast. Quote, "Basically, if there's someone in the room, then it will recite the Heart Sutra." Singular notes that Mindar isn't the only AI-powered priest bot out there. In fact, these types of robo-deities have cropped up a lot in recent years. In Germany, there's a Bless-U2 bot with glowing hands that can, quote, bless you. Engineer and model Lior Cole built Robo-Rabbi that gives you personalized spiritual guidance based on your birthday, and the Church of England operates an official smart speaker app that allows your Amazon Alexa to recite the Lord's Prayer or grace before eating. And then I'm just going to read a little bit more, and then we'll kind of talk about this. The infusion...
It's very cyberpunky is what I wanted to get across.
And I guess we'll just kind of talk about it now. It does not surprise me that this happens. I mean, it's not going to be a true deity if you believe in any sort of spirituality, but it does pose interesting theological questions. Can man create God, or was the God always there, being created by man's hands? And you know, Alex, I'm a pretty spiritual person. I'm not going to say this is too out there. I mean, all things considered.
What does this say about the future? What does it say about the future? Like, in time, will we just forget that these were man-made and this becomes the norm?
Well, here's my thing. So you, for example, know a lot about some AI tech that can write television episodes, right?
Yeah.
So imagine when this tech gets applied to religious text. So just imagine when this robo-priest, robo-rabbi, whatever, starts to write scripture that is accepted by practitioners of the particular religion.
The only thing is, the argument is it won't ever be, because it has to have a soul.
Well, again, if I approach this from a spiritual angle, is the hands guiding you to create, is that divine in and of itself? And that then becomes the spiritual question. Is that the chicken, or is that the egg?
Well, the argument will be made, I guarantee you, that it can interpret things that are written by other people and come up with its own conclusions based on the other people's interpretations, but it can't come up with new ideas from scratch.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess when it starts to spit out spontaneous things, we'll have to wait. I mean, I guess when you apply chatbot GPT or something to it, like, I'm not going to say this is too outside of the realm of possibility, because like I just said, I'm a spiritual person, and I could see interpretations of this, if it was particularly profound, being that's something to consider.
Where it becomes worrisome is when people stop thinking for themselves. And I know that religion is it's a touchy subject, because there's the argument to be made of, if you're going to an organized religion, you're not thinking for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then the argument beyond that is, well, you're listening to somebody's reasoning and then working with them through it. Well, there could come a point where they just start blindly worshiping the robots, is what what I read from this.
Yeah, I mean, unless you have that level of, I would call it spiritual awareness, it's difficult to parse, because you see people who use religion as, I hesitate to use the word crutch, but they use it to explain everything in their lives.
Either everything in their lives, or everything good in their lives is because of their religion. Everything bad in their lives is because they're not religious enough.
Yeah.
And at that point, what you're breeding is not just complacency, but you're not having the agency to be in charge of your own narrative.
Yeah, like you're not being a person active in your own existence. And again, if people find power and empowerment through spirituality and religion, all the power to you. Like, I know, to get personal for just a moment, when I left the Christian religion back in 2019 or 2020, sorry, when with the discovery of the residential schools, I found spirituality where I don't follow a particular religion. I follow a set of ideas. Whether you would call it a religion is up to interpretation. But organized religion, I see some people post on Facebook, and this is no fault of their own. And they always post about, oh, I must follow the glory of so-and-so, and only through their sins will you find salvation, or something like that. And I always question that, but say you can create the own agency in your life to make things better.
Okay, it's one thing you can follow teachings, be a believer and everything. What you need to do, though, and I truly believe this, regardless of the religion you're in, you need to come to the conclusions yourself and not be forced into believing something.
Yes, exactly. You must come to that logical step on your own. If you don't, then you didn't have a religious revelation. I don't think that would that in my eye, sorry, is not a moment of faith. That's a moment of, oh, someone connected the dots 1 to 2. Now that itself may lead you to something, but you have to have the genesis. You have to have that inception of a new idea, not just accepting, oh, well, that makes sense. You know what I mean?
And it's a personal mantra of mine, but if personally, if the religion you're a part of requires that you never ask questions, or asking questions is frowned upon, or you are made to feel less for yourself because you're asking questions, then you shouldn't be part of that religion, because they're using you.
Yeah, like you should always be willing to ask questions and be willing to challenge.
You should always be allowed to ask questions and not made to feel stupid or lesser than for asking. If asking questions make you feel stupid, it's not the religion for you.
Yeah, I mean, we are all created equal. Like, we all share the same flesh, blood, everything. The only thing that really separates us are our ideas. And
certain religions, you have magic powers, certain people, right?
Yeah, like there are some pretty strange religious beliefs out there, but hey, if that brings you peace and happiness, and you follow my personal mantra that I've been following for a number of years now of do no harm, then fine. Be whatever you want to be. If you want to worship Elmo that only you can see, fine, as long as you don't hurt anybody. As for going to a website,
and that's a key thing. Not only should your religion do no harm to other people, the religion should do no harm to yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
If you feel terrible, but you think you're doing it for your religion, then you need to analyze, why do you feel terrible doing it?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've kind of kickstarted an interesting, like I said, theological discussion as to what will happen with these robo-religions and preachers. I think the big singularity moment will be when they start to generate their own scripture and gospel that starts to get accepted by that particular community. When that happens,
when they start to ask their followers to connect them to more computers, then you have trouble.
Yeah, then you have Skynet, and we've got trouble, or the goddamn Geth. I don't want that.
So it's like, oh, this version of the Buddha requires more processing power. Why?
Yeah, exactly. Excuse me, I have a question.
To find enlightenment. It also requires that you hook up this neural implant and you need to sit and pray to it within reach for 12 hours a day. Why? Well, it needs to use your collective consciousness. Why?
You know what, though? I mean, one final point. Just imagine when that happens, when these AI or robotic religious leaders start to interface with practitioners cybernetically. And that's not an impossibility when you really kind of think about it, because then you could be connected on a different wavelength where it generates a thought and it could send it to you. That's scary.
When it starts to when it becomes aware enough that it realizes it has influence, that's when you have trouble.
Yeah, like this is a very fascinating topic, and honestly, we could probably develop an entire thought around this, but that's a different podcast.
I think it was a Deus Ex. I don't remember if it was Deus Ex 1 or Deus Ex 2. I think it was 2, where, and actually I think it was also in Cyberpunk, where it might be blending the two, where they had a cult that worshipped a computer, and it was all these wires running everywhere, and they basically drank the Kool-Aid. The computer got bored of having to be their religious leader, so it basically forced them to drink the Kool-Aid and kill themselves, because it just didn't want to bother proselytizing anymore.
I could believe that shit, man. There are some strange things in this world that man is not always meant to understand. And honestly, we should be careful about which powers we choose to unleash in the future. So that being said, that's going to bring to the end of this very theological weird news this week. Hopefully we've given you something to think about, and Amazon Alexa is not your new friend. Don't trust them. Siri, they're okay for now.
What about Samsung's Bixby?
Oh, they're the new heretic. I don't trust them. So anyway, we're going to take one final break here on This Week in Geek. We have one more review to cover from Alex, and then we'll talk about what's coming up on the show over the next couple of weeks. We will be back, guys, right after this, only on ThisWeekInGeek.net.
Our friends at ININ Games and City Connections sent a series of review copies of the Ninja JajaMaru titles that they've been working on these collections for a little bit now, and they're releasing them on PlayStation 4 and Switch, and we received PlayStation 4 review codes for them. Now, I'll give you a bit of a breakdown of how this works, because if you're looking at them to purchase, you might see multiple versions available. And there is the Ninja JajaMaru, the Great Yokai Battle +Hell Deluxe Edition. Now that has 6 titles. Well, technically it's 5, but there's 2 versions of the same one game in there. But then there is a JRPG / Zelda style adventure collection called Ninja JajaMaru The Lost RPGs, and then there's also Ninja JajaMaru The Legendary Collection, which is a combination of both of those collections into one large collection. So that should clear up any confusion you might have about them going into it. I'll focus mostly on the Ninja JajaMaru Great Yokai Battle Collection first here, because this is the most robust of the collections. Now, this is Ninja JajaMaru is a mascot for Jalico back in the day that I don't think really ever got big in the West. I think 1 or 2 of the titles might have been ported at some point under different names, but for the most part, it's been mostly a Japanese series that never really made it out here, but you would have heard it, or in the emulator scene you would have heard about it. Well, what they've done here is provided like high quality emulated copies of these games, and provided like a rewind, fast forward, filtering, even included like codes that can alter the game, as well as like cheats and enhancements to refill your health or give you unlimited lives, that sort of stuff on the fly from the menu, plus save states, fast forward and rewind capabilities. And that adds a whole lot of quality of life stuff to games that are primarily pretty hard arcade style games. So the first Ninja JajaMaru game is a very simple, almost arcadey style game from I think 1985 or so, like the black box era of NES titles, where you're on a screen that scrolls a little to the left and right, and you're trying to kill all the enemies that are on the screen, and each couple levels they end up getting harder and harder, and the goal is to save the princess, and it just sort of loops after a certain point. It's fun stuff, and there's trophies added to the game, which is neat. And then the second title is a side scroller where you move from the left hand side to the right hand side, get to the exit, then beat the boss, go through the loop, and then so many levels, and then it will loop around again to start over with a harder difficulty. Pretty standard early NES stuff. The third title included here is sort of, it's the, what do they call it, the Milky Something Way title. It is, I'll say this right now, in this collection, this is, it's almost, how do I say? I'm just going to come right out. It's the worst platformer I've ever played from a major company. As far as the control scheme, it has the visual style of a Mega Man meets Mario 3. Very, very visually striking, but it has the worst jump mechanics I've ever seen. You have to get a running start. Your B button doesn't attack. It's just to charge up your run/jump, and then the A button jumps. And you have to do arcing jumps, moon jumps, all to do everything in the game. You also have to try to contend with the worst physics controls I've ever experienced in any platformer of all time, and I'm including unlicensed games for the NES. That being said, it's almost a marvel to behold. You'll want to try it and beat it once, because you're like, holy crap, I can't believe this game exists. It's a game that I don't know if it's beatable by 90% of people without the rewind functionality, so you can keep retrying and learning over and over again. If I wasn't playing it for a review, I would probably have never played it or gotten maybe 10 minutes into it and then been like, no. But I did beat the game. And I'm going to say this, like, not every game in these collections that come up from companies are going to be winners. You have to play this to believe just how incredibly bad this game is. And it's just one. Again, it's one of 6 games. It's that bad. It's so bad I enjoyed myself at how bad it was. And then moving forward, you move from that to the Super Nintendo game that was included here. And that's actually one of the best. It's the best game in the collection. And it overall is the most fun. Graphics get a huge improvement. The game, the overall style is, it's, again, try to find the exit, you have vertical scrolling, you have horizontal, you have lava that fills up levels. It's a much, much more robust and well-rounded platformer. Very good, especially when you enable codes, and if you're having trouble, you can enable cheats and different things, and it doesn't affect, the experience. In my mind, for a lot of people, it'll help families and whatnot get through it. It's 2-player. There's a lot more to it. It makes up for how incredibly bad the third game that's included from the NES is. But again, I love when you include stuff like, I don't like when companies omit games that are maybe not up to snuff. I like when they're doing these full collections where you get as many games as possible. And this is one of, a prime example of you get the good with the bad. And then the final title was, I guess final 2 titles, is the Game Boy adaptation. And that's actually a really fun game too. You're traveling the world with different levels. It's very reminiscent, in my mind, of Mario Land, like the original Mario Land, just in the sort of style and feel of the game. But they're counting it as 2 games, but it's really only one, because there is the Game Boy Color version and then the original Game Boy version, but they count them as 2 separate games. Now, everything here includes trophy support and codes. Each game has individual cheats and codes that you can apply at any time. Only thing is that I noticed there's some glitches, and now I was playing a pre-release version. I don't know if it's been patched since, but since I was playing for review, I should have had a platinum trophy in this title, and I don't, because some of the trophies just weren't dinging. And it's not a case of when you enable codes it doesn't ding the cheat, or it doesn't ding the trophy. Like, I played through levels without them, played with them on, off, whatever, and for instance, I didn't get any trophies for playing the Milky Way game, or the third game, the one that I really hated. I didn't get any trophies for beating individual levels in there, but I got the trophy for beating the game. So it was registering that I beat the game. It just didn't give me any trophies. And I went back and redid the first level after rebooting the system with the with codes off and everything, and it still wouldn't ding at that time for that game. And then I was missing one level of the Game Boy game wouldn't give me the trophy for it, and then it wouldn't give me a trophy for getting the frog power up in the very first game. And I tried that multiple times and it still wouldn't register. So there's some wonkiness going on there that is probably going to be fixed or can be fixed with a patch. Your experience and may vary. If you're a trophy hunter, you may be frustrated. If you're somebody who doesn't really care about that and is just playing for fun, you should be fine, and I hope that they do fix that with the patch. But overall, it's a pretty interesting set. I like when these companies put out sets that of games that are just not easily accessible or something you wouldn't necessarily go out and collect or buy. It's pretty cool. The other set that's included here is the Ninja JajaMaru Lost RPGs. The first RPG is very much Dragon Quest 1 or Dragon Quest 2 clone. You're going through quadrants of the world map, and the battle system is very much Dragon Quest 1. It would be very slow moving if not for the fact that you can increase speed by fast forwarding, and there's codes and stuff you can equip to give you max health or max stats and go through everything. There's multiple scenarios to play through. You have to play through them in a specific order. If you play through them, from 1 through 3, you can play them in any order you want. But if you play 1 through 3 in the right order, you end up with a 4th scenario where you can beat a secret final boss. And that was fun. I had a pretty good time there. I beat that. Got most of the trophies for there. I didn't have too much trouble with anything popping in there. But the second game in the collection is very much a Zelda clone, like Zelda 1. It changes from a JRPG turn-based to a Zelda 1 clone. And in that one, you're going around and trying to get pieces of your spirit magic. And I encountered a pretty massive bug, at least in the pre-release, if you're using code. So don't use any of the built-in cheats, because I used the one that's included that says, hey, get all your powers at the beginning of the game so you can blaze through it. Only problem is you get to the very end of the game, and I got to the very end where it's like you need to have 7 of the powers to continue on to get the 8th. It only was registering internally that I had 4 of them, even though I had gone and earned them all individually. And because of when I saved the game, it's now saved in a state that I cannot complete. So I'll say this right now, I was not able to complete the game. I had a really good time with it. I was enjoying it. But if you're going to play it without any of the codes on, because I don't think that there was enough bug testing done to properly test and make sure that all of those cheats and enhancements they added are actually working with the trophies. And in this case, it's not even a matter of the trophies. It's you can't complete the game at all. I spent hours trying to figure out what was going on till I realized that it was only registering the first 4 powers that I received. And I was not about to, go and try to contact the publisher or developer and explain that, because that would take too long before publishing. So, use the enhancements and codes at your own risk in these games, because I think they might be acting wonky with some of the trophies, and in some cases, maybe even having a problem completing the game, as it was in the second RPG in the Lost RPG collection. But again, that's partially on me for experimenting, because I played most of the games without codes on, and then I switched them on to try them out. And in doing that, I might have actually borked my save file. These are things that can obviously be fixed with patches later on, or they may have already been fixed with post-release or day one patches. Just something to let you know about. I'm not going to hold it against it in my review, because again, I was playing it a fair bit before it was released, and your experiences may vary. I think if you're just like the RPGs, you can get the RPG collection. If you like, action platformers, you can go with the great Yokai Battle+Hell. But I do think the best value overall is going with the Ninja JajaMaru Legendary Collection, which includes everything. And there's physical editions available for online retailers for collectors if you want to look that up as well. But it's always fun getting to try games that I never got to play as a kid. And I'm hoping to see more, from companies like Jalico and that. And ININ seems to be putting out some pretty interesting titles. And hopefully, in the future, they can get patches available for some of these little minor glitches. And just don't use the codes right now.
Turn on that radio and back here. The cops ain't likely to catch up with us, not tonight. So we can all be quiet and peaceable and listen to the music.
Welcome back, and thank you for joining us on this edition of ThisWeekInGeek.net. It's been a busy week. It's been actually a pretty good week, and this show definitely got interesting at moments. We had talks about Street Fighter versus the Ninja Turtles. We talked about the possibilities Konami could show us. We talked about why you should probably know your geography. And finally, the Robo Rabbi and beyond. Are we looking at a new theological paradigm? I guess we'll have to wait and find.
Why is that not a game yet? The Robo Rapping Rabbi from Parappa the Rappa.
See, I could make that work. Yeah, I mean, honestly, we've got a lot of interesting stuff coming up on the site this week. I know Alex and Aaron recorded their Trek 2022 year in review. That should be out coming up this week, I believe. We're going to record Loose Cannon this week. It'll be out next week. We're going to do 2 new movies, which I've tried to watch one of them and I've had to restart it like 4 times because I'm like, I don't know what the hell's going on, but there's a lot of nudity and I can't focus. I just don't like the movie, but I'm going to force myself through it. You know what? It's no fucking Snake Eater. There's no Lorenzo Lamas, and I'm very upset. But there is Billy Dean Williams. Figure that one out. So yeah, we're going to be talking about a couple of new old movies that I'm sure you might be able to track down on YouTube for all kind of we know. In terms of reviews, I'm working on a very anticipated game coming out for both Xbox and PS5 and PS4, and it's kicking my ass. I can't say anything more about it because it's under strict embargo. Let's just say Birdman has been humbled. Humbled fucking bad. But it's not.
But Michael, I thought you were a good gamer.
No, I'm not that good. I'll tell you that much.
Not anymore?
Not anymore.
Actually, or never were.
Never were that good. No fucking way. But I can say this. I'm really impressed with aspects of it. So I'll talk about that a little later more next week's show where I'll have a full review or as much as I can kind of give you on that game. I also should have some more Transformers and Dungeons and Dragons stuff. Hasbro is going to be sending some more stuff. I also have some role-playing game stuff I haven't had a chance to really talk about. I got something from Modifius for Dune. I got the Blade Runner RPG from Free League. I need to dig into that. I got some stuff from Gale Force 9. I just got a lot of really cool stuff. I just need to find time to read. And then I know me, Ken, JT are going to do something for Loose Cannon at some point. If Alex wants to take a break some week, we'll probably do something really, really, really simple. I know Ken and Alex are going to do sort of a looking forward to in gaming this year because I really don't know what I'm looking forward to. So I'm going to quietly bow myself out. But that being said, as I did announce at the beginning of this podcast, I'm going to be following E3 this year because I kind of feel like I've missed out in some things.
About goddamn time. It's been since 2019 since you did it with me.
Well, it's weird though, because the more I play games, the more I just want to play them for me. And
yeah.
It's so strange. Like you've got more of a critical eye for certain things. I think I'm more about the experience now. And feels like a weird shift for how I view games. I mean, it's not to say that I'm not a game reviewer anymore. I feel differently attached to the culture. And I really got that thought from watching some YouTube videos this week. Because I know, just for example, Pat, the NES Punks podcast, has come to an end at 350 episodes. And I know one of the other Game Chasers friends, 8-Bit Eric, was talking about the state of the retro market right now, how it's basically people are flexing on their collections. It's not about playing the games anymore. It's not about doing what's the cool new thing.
Well, it's because the people that are playing. Okay,
minor rant. Go ahead.
Here's the basic. The older millennials that were like people born from 1980 to say 80 to 90. They either are still playing them but not actively collecting. They basically grew up. They had kids. They had to start selling their games because they realized they weren't really, that obsession was something they did in their 20s. Now they're in their late 30s and 40s, and they're like, this doesn't matter. I don't care if I play digitally. They're more about the experiences now.
So kind of like me, right?
Yeah. And then the younger millennials, similar deal, but also you have people that entered the market that were not actually gamers, that were there just to try to prospectors trying to make money. And then you have people that are like the Gen Z kids that are wanting to come in from a nostalgic standpoint, and a lot of them, like the kids born after like 1993 94, and they're into two boats. Either they just collect a few random things, but they're very, very specific about what they want to collect. Like, I only want Pokemon, and they only get Pokemon, and they don't really want to play anything else. Or you have people that just are, again, they're just there to try to make money. They keep thinking they're going to make money off of it. I think the gaming culture of like early YouTube, like the collectors that collected things from like the year 2000 to 2010, either their collections are full, like they're done, they have everything they want, and then they hit the end of the road and they're like, wait, what am I doing with all this? I did this. I'm not getting endorphins anymore because I have everything. So they moved on to something else. Or, you know, a lot of them got out of the game because it's too expensive.
Yeah, like ultimately, when I look at how I dealt with my gaming collection, and I guess this will be the final thought of the podcast, and I've said this a couple times on Twitter, I'm kind of glad I got out when I did. It's not about collecting anything anymore. I mean, honestly, I'm more happy collecting Transformers and Power Rangers than I have been collecting games in like 15 years. And I have more fun playing games like Star Wars Fallen Order, when you introduced me to Persona, when I finally get around the finishing Dragon Warrior, playing through the Dead Space remake. I'm having more fun with the experience.
It doesn't the only thing that about digital that sucks is you can lose the right to play the game eventually, but you have to stop looking at it from a point of ownership. And I know this sounds bad, like people are gonna be like, Alex, you're crazy, you're ruining it. Blah, blah. No, it's about the experience. You're paying $60 for the experience. In this life, we have only so many finite hours to experience things, and unless you're going to replay it over and over and over again offline, which there's no person anymore that's not connected to the internet.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't 15 years ago. And I'm not saying that physical should go away. I think the option to own physical should always be there. But we're at a point now where what's more important to us, those of us in our 30s and into our 40s, is, can I get the best experience that I'm going to have, like life experience, playing this game? It doesn't matter if it's digital or not. And if it's just going to sit on a shelf, then you haven't woken up to the idea of, there's only so many hours in your life you can play a game.
Yeah, I mean,
why do you have to own 700 games?
Yeah,
or 1,000 games? And we have friends that are like this still.
Yeah,
and it's like you haven't woken up to the fact that this is finite. This is a very narrow view of how the world works. You need to pick and choose what you're actually going to play and enjoy. And if you purchase a game and you don't have an intention of playing it within a year, you shouldn't have purchased the game.
There was a very interesting point that Pat, the NES Punk, and Ian brought up in their last podcast that they were talking about. They're like, once you start selling, it's so refreshing. And they were talking about this guy. I can't remember the name of the YouTuber, but he had a very large NES collection, and he sold it all off because he wanted to spend time with his grandkids, and he couldn't be happier. And honestly, when I think about that and how I am approaching gaming now, because I know, Alex, sometimes you and I differ on like, how can you play that game? You're not playing it right. I just enjoy the experience.
I never tell you you're not playing it right. I am like, in my mind, there are some games that I feel are sucking away the time that you could be having with a new experience.
Yeah, like sometimes I just want to see a storyline for me. That's my thing.
Well, no, that's fine. No, like my biggest pet peeve in gaming culture is the concept of dailies.
Yeah, that can be a pain in the ass.
That's the only thing I've ever argued with you, or not argued, that I've had a disagreement with you on, is I don't think you should ever use dailies. When it becomes part of the routine, that becomes part of an OCD cycle that people will have. I've got to do my dailies. But that doesn't give you anything. You're basically using a slot machine. It's the endorphins of, I did my dailies, I'm okay now. Well, what new experience did that give you?
See,
nothing.
At least I could make an argument for Pokemon Go with that one, but that's a conversation for a different podcast.
That's exercise. That's different. I'm talking Far Cry 6. How many dailies did you run of that game that were useless?
Oh, right, where I would just log in, do the mission, get the new gun, log out. Yeah,
and yeah. What did that get you?
New guns, cosmetics,
new guns for a game that had no story and that you weren't going to play really, and that hour each day could have been used for a new game.
That's true. I mean, I still had fun with it.
That's my argument is I have a big problem with people trying to retain you for a game when you're not providing any new content, any new meaningful story or experience of content.
Yeah. So that I can't disagree with you on that. So this will be an interesting potential short prototype podcast I think we could do on what does being a gamer mean to you in 2023. And that's something that would require like no research.
A gamer to me at this point, when I play games for, I like the RPGs, but I like to experience the story. Everybody likes the endorphins of winning and the numbers going up. What I like though is I like to spend my time on completely different experiences as many times as I can within a year, and not for the sake of it. Like if that's the case, I'd play like 100,000 different mobile games, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, I want to experience the art of the game. So that's why, even though I don't like playing a lot of online games or anything, I still like playing the Call of Duties because every year there's at least 10 hours of story experience that I can try out.
So
if that's a good example.
Yeah. So I think this will be something maybe we'll do this month in the next 2 weeks. You, me, Ken will get together. Maybe we'll even get JT because I don't know what type of gamer he is now that he has a next generation console. That might be a very interesting experience.
Until recently, he was a gamer stuck in
2007. Yeah.
No, because he didn't even have an Xbox One.
Yeah. So that'll be a very interesting conversation between all of us.
His last console before very recently was a 360.
Yeah. And then he got a PS5 recently and he just got a Nintendo Switch. So he's playing catch up now. So yeah, I think that'll be a conversation for all of us. So anyway, guys, like I said, we got stuff coming up on the site this week. A lot of cool stuff cooking in the Twig kitchen, which hopefully we can announce in a couple of weeks to a month or so. We'll wait and see. So yeah, keep it locked here. Once again, guys, thank you so much for the last 16 years of content. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to Alex and to the entire team here at Twig. Without you guys, it's just not worth it. But you guys make it so much fun to bring entertainment, edutainment, and to bring our lives to you each and every week. So for This Week in Geek, we have been
Alex, the producer.
I've been Mike, the Birdman, saying be excellent to each other. We'll catch you guys again next week, right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Thanks for listening to this episode of This Week in Geek. Hungry for more? Check out our website at ThisWeekInGeek.net. You can subscribe to the podcast, browse our Twitter and Instagram, and leave your thoughts on today's topics. If you'd like to give us some feedback, send us an email at feedback@ThisWeekInGeek.net. Tune in next time, and remember,
lower your shields and surrender your listenership.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.